What's up, everybody? This is the Gym Therapy Inc. podcast. Please follow along with us as we try to bring mental health awareness to a small western Pennsylvania town. Let's go.
Hello, you. I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
In the trust tree in the nest, are we not?
I would never want to belong to any club that would have someone like me for a member.
Do you want me to introduce, and do you want me to do that? Are you nervous?
Yeah, if you don't, you guys are better at that than me.
You do it.
No, it's
all right.
The whole
Okay.
thing. What's the show about?
Yeah.
All right, me.
No, what's
Emotional
emotional labor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can't carry it for her. It's her job. You're right. High five. We learned a lesson.
I mean,
Yeah,
my
it's
gosh.
about emotional labor.
Okay.
Make sure that there you go.
Okay, there we go. All right, guys. Welcome to the Gym Therapy Podcast. It's what's the date? 26. Trista, Ted. Anyhow,
Let's start that again.
let's do that again.
Good job.
I just mumbled
Good stuff.
completely
I know,
over your
I know.
name
Take
there.
a deep
See,
breath.
this is why I don't do all this.
That's
You're
right.
fine. Take a deep breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Relax. We're just having conversations together. That's all we're doing.
Mhm. Only I'm introducing everybody first.
You've done it before.
Yeah, I know.
You've done it.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the Gym Therapy Podcast. Today's February 26th, and we have a guest today, but also,
Justin.
Trista.
and our guest today is Creed. He's one of my coworkers. He works for Pure Star. How long you been at Pure Star?
just under 2 years now.
Under
Good.
2 years. Good. Today we're going to talk a little bit about emotional labor. We want to talk about our weeks first?
Yeah, Creed, why don't you start? Why don't you talk? We'll just throw you right to the rolls. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. I'm 23 years old right now. I started at Pure Star about 2 years ago. I came basically right out of college because it was going well up until the pandemic, and then everything switched online, and my mental health just collapsed
Just
on
crashed.
me.
Yeah.
So I ended up withdrawing. It's just going to be for a semester. Went to counseling, took care of my mental health, and I kind of just got this option in front of me when I was at the end of it, and
Yeah.
decided to keep going. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
nice.
loved it.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
Are you still going to school? Are you taking classes online? Is that something you want to do later? Or are you...
I want to get back into it later. Honestly, working in this field has really kind of given me inspiration to move more towards like a psych degree or something. I
Yeah.
was in biochemistry
Oh, boy.
before this. Wanted to be a doctor. Did not make it very far along that path. But I do definitely want to go back to school for something oriented in mental health. But
Yeah, that's great.
a lot of exploring left to do still.
Yeah. And you can do a lot of damage in this field without a degree, because it just seems like it's like any other field. It's like who you know.
Yeah.
You know, and it just keep
Yeah.
going. A degree definitely helps, but there's so much stuff you can do out there in the world without one.
Absolutely.
In college, I don't envy you one bit being 23 trying to figure out what you want to do. Like
Mhm.
if I could go back, 30 was probably good, but I don't think I want to go back to being 20.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I don't know what I want to go back to 30. I think I'm 30
good.
years
I'm ready
good.
at 30 now. Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, I just became an adult last year, so, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it to happen at some point here, but
Yeah, you don't have to hurry, though. That's the important part. You
Yeah.
don't have to
So
rush.
is everybody's week, like I did, mine was good. I had no real issues this week. Nothing super exciting. I don't know. It was a good week. We just recorded like 2 days ago. We just got finished doing this. I just got the other video out and edited and done like 3 days ago.
All
So
right, well.
But it wasn't 2 days ago. It was a full entire week
I have
ago.
zero to talk about. I got by like Wednesday, once we got it up and it was on all the platforms, I was so annoyed with the sound of my own voice. I just don't want to talk about it. So
Well,
somebody
the
else-
good news is we all are too, but here we are.
Yeah, I've set myself up. There's a little low hanging fruit there for you.
How was your
Good.
week?
Mine was busy, though. Like, I start my new job on Monday,
Good.
tomorrow, actually, and I just had so many appointments, physical and a drug test and all this, just appointments. And saying goodbye, to a couple of my people.
How's it feel not being nervous about a drug test?
Oh, I'm just like, I actually kind of was, though, because I'm like,
What if?
well, what if my other medications show up and then I don't get a job? Well, I'm
Yes.
thinking of all of the things that are going to happen to get me not having
Yeah.
to not let me have this job. Like, the that one charge on my background from 2010,
Yeah.
you know, that kept me from all those other jobs, or, you know, not passing the drug test because I'm on, you know, a medication that is
When you
for addicts,
when you take
know,
a drug
that
test and you know you're gonna pass it, it's like walking through the airport. Like, what if I have a gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if
yeah,
someone put a
yeah.
knife in my
Yes.
book bag?
Trying to leave a store without buying something.
Yeah.
What if someone slipped a TV in my pocket?
TV.
These are serious, anxious situations that we shouldn't have a normal day
intrusive
life.
thoughts, yeah.
No, but yeah. So, and I also had. It's been like almost a year now since I went to a dentist, and they've told me that I needed all my teeth pulled, and then I went to another dentist who's going to do it, and then the program that's helping me. It was just a mess, and it was very annoying, and it took a whole year almost to finally get all of the ducks in the row they're supposed to be in, and whatever else. But I went to the dentist last week and got the impressions made, so
Perfect.
we're on
Good.
track to
Wow, good.
about
Good.
3 weeks, I guess they'll say they'll come in. She doesn't want to schedule an appointment, you know, to get them pulled until they come in. So
Yeah, I think
Either
that's a
way.
big part of from childhood to adulthood is actually making your own doctor's appointments,
Mhm.
Yeah.
following
So
through.
Yeah.
and going
I
through.
only just made my first doctor's appointment recently.
Yeah.
Holding off for a while.
Yeah.
23. I was probably 20. I was probably 27. Like, I'd go if I was dying. I'd mono one time when I was 25. Like, but I thought I was like, this is it. I'm going to the doctor for him to tell me to go buy a casket. That's the only
Gosh.
you know.
Oh my
But
God.
that I don't know. It's funny.
yeah, how was your week, Trista?
It's personally it was a little bit of a roller coaster, but professionally it's been a really great week. Some nice guy invited me to speak at Rotary.
Oh
So I had got to talk about the gym and what we do
Nice.
at Rotary, so that was pretty cool. This was the second week of our CrossFit Open workout, which was great.
Yes, I didn't
Um,
get tattoos overnight either.
Oh
by
yeah.
the way,
Yeah.
I still got my.
Fake tattoos on there.
Yeah, they're
we,
coming off though.
we had to dress up as your favorite coach. So Clint, the other trainer at the gym, has a sleeve on his arm and leg, and
Yeah.
so Liz showed up. I'm pretty sure she nailed that one because no one else did that extreme. But
was so
it was a
excited.
really good week, and it was good seeing. Clint is our trainer, and he is a bit shy on the shy
Mhm.
side, and so many people showed up dressed as him, and I bet
Oh,
that
that's
felt
awesome.
really super awesome.
Yeah,
for
he's a
him.
good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to see that too.
That's
I'm glad
cool.
to see him
Yes, and
interact
so
with
he
you.
got a little extra love online too because we shared the pictures of everybody dressed as Clint. So it was a good time, and the workout was tough, but it was fun, and everybody I think surprised themselves on that one. I redid it, by the way.
Did you?
Oh yeah,
Why?
I redid it because I could have done better.
Okay.
I didn't sleep well the night before, so I redid it yesterday, and I got 3 reps of the 30 burpee pull-ups, which was pretty huge.
Yeah.
And I got a little bit less weight on my thruster, but that's kind of expected. I went harder on the workout,
So you got
so
that, yeah.
I got 5 pounds less, and I also peed my pants. So there's
Did you?
there-
Yes, well.
You
Yeah.
weren't picking up sandbags this time though.
No, it
Okay.
wasn't great, but it happened, and that's something leading into a training I just got talking about like pelvic floor health and all that good stuff for women.
Yeah.
So speaking from my own experience, stuff I can work with and teach people about. So
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
I
From the
definitely
pelvic
surprised
floor to the
myself
sky.
too.
yeah, that's right.
Just a long story.
The story just along. Peeing her pants in every workout. No,
Oh my
not
God.
everyone. Just really heavy ones.
Yeah, I surprised myself too in that workout. I mean, I wasn't surprised that I wasn't going to be able to finish it, but there's definitely something like really wrong with my shins. But I lifted a lot more than I ever thought I could either too. So
And now you have a appointment you need to make for
Yes.
your shins. So
yes,
that's something.
definitely.
But I think everyone surprised themselves. Like you thrusted more than you've cleaned at the gym so far, being new, and I think so did you.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's huge.
Is it? I had no idea. See, all this stuff is completely brand new to me. Like, I missed the first week of the Open. This is how many legs are there? 3.
There's 3.
There's
Mhm.
3. So we were at the middle one this week, and I just kind of showed up. I had no idea what to expect. I've never gauged myself or tested myself physically in 20 some years. So I just went and I was like, whatever I do, I'm just going to finish it. I don't care.
Yeah.
So I walked half of it.
But
Oh, yeah.
but that workout was designed to not finish.
Yeah.
Like it's designed
Well,
to
good.
like
Glad to hear it.
15
That
minutes
just set me up for failure.
to get as far as you can. And I think they put up to like I think on the score sheet was up to like 60 burpees. Like you have to be
A maniac.
an incredible feat of fitness to even get close to that.
Okay.
Some of the most elite people are maybe getting into the 35s. on the burpee pull-up.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and let's be honest.
Pull-up.
Yeah,
Yes.
burpee pull-ups.
Yes.
With the pull-up too, yeah.
We did the scaled version. We didn't do the.
yeah, you guys did the scaled version.
So we did burpee, jump up and touch the bar and then back down.
Yeah.
We didn't actually do pull-ups. I can't do a single pull-up.
I can't either.
My own weight works against me.
But I think you would have
My
done.
whole body's out to get me.
You would have done well on the pull-up, on the burpee pull-up, because on your jump from the burpee, you can grab the bar and pull up.
And then just go straight
Yeah,
pull-up. Yeah.
But I think, scaling appropriately for where you're at, meeting where you're at now, makes you feel successful when you leave a workout.
Yes.
So if you do
For
a
sure.
workout that's above your fitness level, you walk out frustrated, you walk out feeling defeated, and that's
Yeah.
not the whole. That's not the purpose of working out.
Mhm.
Purpose of walking out is, one, doing something you like, for the most part, and
Yeah.
two, and like leaving it and feeling like you accomplished something.
Yeah, I actually felt better Saturday morning then. It was good. I woke up and I felt accomplished.
Yes.
And you said about meeting people where we're at. We talked about that with Drew last week, about meeting kids where they're at. I just read some of that book right there, What Happened to You This Week by Dr. Bruce Perry. And they said that's called Getting to People's Cortex. It was a little more scientific than what we do. And we're going to go through that book sometime soon. So I'm excited to do that.
And the Girls Gone Strong training that I had, one of the things they said, instead of telling people they modified or scale workout, instead of saying, hey, just scale the workout, let's do the workout that's supportive to where you're at right now.
Wow.
That changes it, because you hear the word modified, you're like, I have to modify it. I'm not good. I was good as everyone else. Let's find what's supportive to where you are now.
Mhm.
What was it
Those
called?
are great terms.
The training or whatever. What was it called?
It's called Girls Gone Strong,
Oh, okay.
and it's a female oriented coaching. So.
That's awesome.
Well, you
Good.
can really tell that we're products of the 90s with all the names and stuff. We're making Girls Gone Strong.
Not wild. Strong.
I've learned a lot.
No, but
on
like
there.
our marketing brains are just picking up on things we did when we saw when we were kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, what are we talking about today?
Yeah,
Liz?
let's get into this. Emotional labor. Can't take all full credit. It's Trista's idea. But the definition I had to read a couple times to actually understand what it meant. And the definition, like the actual dictionary definition, is the mental activity required to manage or perform the routine tasks necessary for maintaining relationships and ensuring smooth running of a household or process. And then it says it's typically regarded as an unappreciated or unacknowledged burden borne disproportionately by women.
Yes.
Okay.
All
I'll
those words
make sure,
confuse
for
me.
those of you guys watching and not listening, I'll make sure I throw something up on the screen that explains what that is, because if you're like me, I blanked out while you were talking.
Yeah,
So
well,
I'm sorry.
I blacked out when I was reading it a couple of times because I'm like, this is
Yeah.
a long definition.
Yeah, I
and
know.
don't,
That's what. So let's.
So, go ahead.
In this too, like just expanding on that a little bit, it says in modern usage, the term has expanded to include emotional regulation and demands outside of the relationship. And that's like, say you're with someone who is extremely unregulated, like emotionally unregulated, where you have to like tiptoe around them. That's also part of emotional labor.
Okay. This kind of explains it a little better too. It says emotional labor is unpaid, often invisible work that a person is compelled to do by others to keep them happy. So this first talks about a little bit of where the word came from. The origin is, it was coined by a sociologist, Arlie Hochschild, I think I'm saying his name right, in 1983 in her book, The Managed Heart, Commercialization of Human Feeling. At that time, she defined emotional labor as a workplace only occurrence. But as Trista just said, it's in relationships, all that kind of stuff too. So in the decades since, emotional labor has grown to be used in society to describe the unpaid, often invisible work done by one person to quell the needs or demands of others, both in the workplace and in social and domestic situations. Though emotion work was intended to be used for separate situations than emotional labor, the two have been considered interchangeable in recent years. The evolution of emotional labor as a term to also encompass demands outside the workplace was solidified with the release of Gemma Hartley's book, Fed Up, Women, Emotional Labor, and the Way Forward in 2018. That sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
There are a few examples in here about, how it manifests in the different areas. And In the workplace, it says emotional labor in the workplace consists of practices and rules for employees that are implemented for the sake of satisfying customers. They center around employees needing to manage their emotions and not express them to others. And a few examples of that is like, if you're a cashier at Walmart, you can't just stand there and it's ding, ding, ding. You're supposed to smile. You're supposed to say,
Smile
hey,
with
how
your
are
face
you?
and voice when you talk.
Basically, yeah. Yep. Prevention of response to a customer when they treat an employee rudely, and punishment if an employee reacts after being treated unfairly or inappropriately. So I don't think I've ever like talked back to a customer or even talked back to a boss. But if I have a different idea, I'm gonna tell you if there's a different way that I think things should be done. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm gonna suggest, hey, I've done it this way. Can I continue?
So also think about it too in the way of if you have bosses that are non-receptive to those ideas.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to carry their emotions, and you have to know, hey, is it safe to come to them with an idea?
Dude, that's the worst. That's the worst. Whenever people they do it in both sides. People bring their work home with them. They bring their home life to work with them. But when you can't even approach your boss because he's having a bad day or she's having a bad day, that's not a good work environment. And I know that shit happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But when you can't even talk to somebody because they're having a bad day and you have to tiptoe around them, that's manipulative.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I think bosses do stuff like that. If Trista asked me a simple question and like, let's say the sales team or the floor or the coworkers all have kind of the same, then she comes as a little bit as a representative of them, just kind of dip her toe in the water.
Yeah.
And I were to like shut that down, that's sending a message to everybody.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then that vibration goes throughout the whole team and whatnot. And that's not how you coach. That's
No.
not how you manage. That's not how you treat people. And whenever you're overly rude to somebody just to send a message to everybody else, it's like when mom or dad comes home and like slams their stuff down and throws it around, or the husband and wife does that, and then the whole house knows, well, don't talk to them. We know how tonight's going to be. That's a shitty environment for everybody involved.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Of course you want to just run away in a rabbit hole somewhere. But
yeah,
I can definitely say our bosses are very receptive to
Oh,
anything.
amazing! Yeah,
Any kind of ideas.
mine are too. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, I've only worked in customer service before this, and it's just such a shift to like I've had okay bosses before, people I didn't mind, but to just get a text from like my regional director that's like, "Hey, hope you're doing well. I was thinking of you." That really means the world to me.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Customer service is actually one of the professions listed as one of the highest.
I was
emotional labor.
Talking to my friends about this topic just last night. We were hanging out, and that was the main thing that came up. Like we've all worked customer service just based on our age, and it's kind of a joke where like we all know each other's quote unquote customer service voices.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
is exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
smiling with your voice.
Yeah.
Something you get used to doing.
That's true.
Especially like management, whenever you're trying to keep the emotional labor of your staff and morale high, and then you kind of send that negative vibration towards them, and then expect them to go out and do the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of have to everything starts within. You kind of have to have a good vibration.
Oh well, yeah. Even as a boss, if you're having a bad day, I would just be like, hey, look, guys, I'm just not having a good day today, and sorry if I'm being a jerk, but I'm just not having a good day. And I just would just let everybody know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, look, this is the day I'm having. I'm sorry if I'm being a jerk, but
I'm so thankful of my day job, my relationship with my coworker, because I could just be like, hey, I'm just really emotional right now. It has nothing to do with you. I'm just not having a good day. And like we've had the same back and forth where he's like, I'm just not having a good day. I'm gonna disappear and just go do my own thing today. You might not see me often. Cool.
Yeah.
We know. Like you need space, and instead of people being in your business like what's wrong, and then or you being reactive, and we've worked really hard on responding versus reacting. But it's better to be honest about what's going on. But there are people that I think too, people that are higher up on the food chain, sometimes they strive with the power. It makes them feel good that they have the power over other people. If you look at a lot of chains of local government, you can see that people, it's not about changing the community or changing lives. It's about having power and control over other people.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's scary. It's a very scary thing.
I think a lot of it kind of comes to freedom too, where like a lot of what we're talking about here is dealing with management, having to do emotional labor for the sake of acting with management. But arguably, the most important person to be doing the emotional labor is the people at the management level who affect everyone else.
Yes.
But those are the people who have the freedom to not be that way, and not get held to task for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to hit on the 2 different coping strategies? Do you have that in there? In the workplace?
No, I don't.
So on what I'm reading on betterup.com, they talked about in the workplace 2 coping strategies. The first is deep acting. It requires changing external behaviors by managing the underlying feelings. Employees basically convince or remind themselves that the behavior they want to portray is in line with a deeper value. So even if it's something that you don't agree with, that you have to be like, yes, this is the right thing to do in front of customers. Deep acting, not going against your own core values, but doing what the company tells you is right.
Yeah.
And then the second was surface level acting. If the employee isn't authentically connected to their values as a reason for the emotional labor, they tend to default to surface level acting. Even the most dedicated, enthusiastic employee will have a day where they feel angry, sick, or tired. And these conditions tend to be more likely to bring out surface acting where they fake the acceptable response to get through the interaction. Anyone ever have that happen where you had to like really fake something just to get through the situation where
Yes.
it's like you know that it's not the right thing, but you had to be like, yeah, that's
Yeah. How
Yeah.
about whenever you work? You said about customer service. If you've ever worked, if you're a waiter or waitress, if you've ever had to pitch a credit card to somebody, and you have to pitch a credit card that's 30% interest, and you're like, please sign up for this credit card, but don't do it because you're gonna probably go into someday.
Sign up to give me points, but don't do it.
In the past, though, I've sold cards to people without saying more than 10 words to them. You know, just because I'm just not into it, and people love talking about themselves too. So I think like as experienced salesman, you can kind of like get people to like start talking about something, and then you can kind of like take a break for a second while
they're talking.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you just kind of segued into the next thing, which was cognitive dissonance. Acting in a way that is out of alignment with how you really think or feel.
Yeah.
So that you're like doing one thing because you're being told to do it, even though it's not what you agree with. Like giving someone a 30% credit card. Ugh, that makes me want to just throw up.
Yeah. Like a lot of times, you know, with the clients and stuff that I have, I mean, it's not my job to say, yes, you're right, or no, you're wrong. It's my job just to listen, literally. And there's been so many times where things are like explained and told to me like in another person's perspective or point of view, and I'm, you're right. And it's frustrating. Or if somebody's talking about something that I have absolutely zero interest in, I have to sit there and shake my head and smile and try to even interact with a conversation that I just first don't know anything about. Second, it's just not interesting, and it's hard to sit for 2 hours.
Your body goes through physical and chemical changes too whenever that sort of stuff happens. I was just listening to this book, What Happened to You. There's a chapter in it where they have a teenager who she's diabetic, and when they go to test her, just randomly her levels are spiked, and then they're low, and then they're spiked, and then they're low. So the doctors in there, not accusing her, but they're saying like, is she sneaking food? Is she doing something? Is she doing that? So they brought in a psychiatrist to talk to her while she was doing it. While she's sitting there, he's talking to her. There's a siren that goes off in the background. Now remember, this is a hospital, so to them, sirens are no big deal. She hears it, and she becomes visibly flushed and visibly. So he recognizes it, slows her down, talks to her about it. Well, like 2 or 3 weeks before, she was sitting on a park bench, and she was just sitting there talking to her friend, and all of a sudden her friend just falls over. They didn't hear it. The friend was shot. Yes, the friend was shot, and
they didn't hear it.
They didn't hear the sound. It was just in the middle of nowhere. Like the friend was shot, and the friend just fell over and died. She was shot, and then the sirens and all that stuff came. So this girl, by sitting in the hospital, just sitting there, when she heard the sirens, it brought her back to that moment, and then her body reacted. So sometimes, like just to tie it in, tied into this stuff.
Mhm.
Like we don't. When someone's having a day or whatever and something, you don't really know what's going on inside them. So to be able to, what was that, cognitive dissonance?
Yeah.
Dissonance, to be able to do that. I just think that's something pretty incredible your body does. That's all.
Mhm.
And just staying in the workplace, we're still talking about the workplace.
Mhm.
Like the 4 consequences of emotional labor is the cognitive dissonance, increased stress, and that spikes your cortisol level,
Yeah.
which I mean is responsible for weight gain. It goes into the fight or flight, fatigue,
Yeah.
your self-control and constant effort it takes to manage your own emotions leads to exhaustion and burnout. And then the last one is reduced self-efficacy, which is feeling inauthentic. And we talked about this last week, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I remember Drew saying last week, he doesn't do physical work. He doesn't work with his body, he works with his mind. And at the end of the day, his mind is just, excuse me, he's exhausted that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I've been in the same place where having emotional exhaustion rather than physical, but I'm not sure which is more tiring sometimes.
Imagine if you're doing both, like a waiter or waitress.
Yeah.
I think every person should have to spend at least 1 year of their
Life in it.
adolescence as a waiter or waitress somewhere, just because you have to consistently think, talk, interact, learn social skills, do things, and then plus you're moving constantly to where it seems like such a simple thing, but you have to use all of your skills that God gave you, basically.
Yeah.
Or just be a
to bring
public
something.
servant or work at a job that works for the public
Yes,
and get
I
verbally
do.
assaulted daily.
Yeah.
Get notes and bills yelling at you like it's great.
The local water authority, whenever they put signs on people's doors, I've seen, it says, if you physically or verbally assault one of our employees, we will call the police on you. And I'm like,
Are
you
you
have
serious?
to put that. Yeah, I swear
Yes.
to God, yeah.
I mean, that's what I do during my day job, and it makes me sick. Number one, no one wants to put a notice on someone's door that their water's
yeah.
going
No,
to get
of course
shut. Nobody
not.
wants to do that.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to be the person that has to post those notices.
Mhm.
I hate writing them. The person has to put them on the door hates doing it. It's the worst part of our job.
Mhm.
Nothing makes me more physically ill than the day that we have to do shutoffs.
Yeah.
I want to vomit the entire day. It bothers me.
Of course.
And I carry it with me, and I have to like go home and be like, okay, you like this isn't your fault. You are doing your job. Doesn't feel good, but
Yeah.
it's again part of that labor of something that you do that you don't want to do and needs to be done.
Yeah.
But it's really hard, and then you get physical threats. I've had to move locations because the one location we were at had one door. Like coming in, and I'm like, okay, if someone comes in with a gun, like I have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Or if someone comes in and physically harms me, I have no other way out than past them.
Yeah.
And those are things that you have to like,
Wow.
realizations you have to come to that nobody wants to come to.
Yeah.
Anybody have anything else on the workplace?
Kind of taken in a very different direction, but with cognitive dissonance, with our job and doing peer support, one thing I've ran into is that talking about death can be really difficult because of how religion comes into a play, where I personally am agnostic, still figuring it out,
Yeah, of
not
course.
on a particular path yet, but most of the people I work with are Christian.
Yeah.
And when someone dies in their life and you talk about the afterlife, I mean, again, it is kind of imposter syndrome where the whole way you're going through it, you're just like, I don't believe any of the words I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't say that to your face. I have
Yeah.
to talk
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
through your religion, the
Yeah.
beliefs that you have. And it always is just a weird middle ground where I do feel like I am helping just
Just on a way
based
to-
on my knowledge. I mean, grew up around here. I do
Yeah.
kind
So
of know
have
the
you
ins and
thought
outs of
of
it.
like maybe kind of to change your script a little bit, instead of saying like telling them the comfort things that they want to hear, ask them like where they think this person's spirit is going, and say, I'm glad that you're finding support in that. It doesn't mean that you have to pretend, but you can kind of like
Yeah.
support their belief system. Does that make sense?
100%. Ask people questions, especially if you're struggling on a day where like your energy's low or something like that.
Mhm.
But people like talking about themselves. And you can learn a ton. So that's something you can do. Just instead of like trying to interject your thoughts and beliefs and stuff like that, not in a negative way. I mean,
Oh,
what
no.
it sounds like
We're
you're doing,
faking it, yeah.
yeah, so faking it. But it sounds
Yeah.
like you're doing a great job, because that's a really sticky situation.
I mean,
People would constantly say, "I'm gonna go home and pray about this" before they bought something.
Mm.
You know, it's like, and there are salespeople that'll be like, "Well, just sit down here and let's put our hands together and I'll pray about it." I'm like, get out of here with that cringy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
just
yeah.
let the person do their thing.
Yeah.
the thing that really gets me with it is just I'm open with my peers about who I am, of course, and
Sure.
every single one of them knows that I am not a Christian, and it's just always weird because cognitive dissonance is the perfect word. Like, I think that I can help by speaking to that in the moment, but I'm
Yeah.
always so aware, like, this person knows that I'm coming from a place that I just don't personally believe. And
Yeah.
it's also really powerful being able to help in that way. Like, I am amazed that you can speak to someone's religion and kind of speak across those lines and still be helpful. That it's not like I can talk to somebody about their beliefs without sharing those beliefs and still be helpful.
Sure.
It's there's both sides to that.
Have you ever felt like people have tried to convince you about like, well, God really picked this career for you. You know that, right? Even though they know what your thought is. Because I have had that happen to me multiple times. And my thing is I always say, like, the universe or whatever. And I feel like there are some important people who have done that to me. And I, again, the cognitive dissonance, be like, yeah, you're probably right.
A
Thanks.
good Christian is told to convert you, though.
Yes.
A good Christian's told to like get that person, talk about God, get him on God's side.
I work with the guy who, because I play Dungeons and Dragons with friends.
Hell, you're going to hell. You can't play Dungeons and Dragons and get into heaven. Everyone knows it.
That I have demons that follow me around, and that's just how it is. It's just like many times I'm like, so what are the demons doing to me? And he basically just sees it as like, it would be harder to convert because I'd have to, it sounds weird to say it, but sort of push through the demons, get rid of them before
away,
that process. But no, I mean, very much, it's never someone quite just telling you, you should convert, but it's kind of an applied pressure, and that's kind of what scares me about it going the other direction.
Right.
Like, being agnostic. I don't want to dissuade someone from their faith. That's the last thing. But
Exactly.
But
I mean,
did you openly bring demons into my house today? Is that what you just said?
Exactly. I was like, are you mad about that? Did I do it?
Oh my god!
Now
Like,
you're
we've had,
great.
I know we've had like 4 guests, and 2 of them have been agnostic so far.
So another thing, just talking on this about religion, real quick segue. Locally, there have been people that have came against like crystals and Reiki and all of that stuff, and people saying like Reiki is worshiping the devil. And I'm like, you realize that Reiki is basically someone putting their hands on you and praying over you. It's literally someone touching your chakras and praying their intentions on you. It's okay.
We did a class where we were just trying to get exercise, and we were trying to do it in a small setting, so we decided to do yoga, and someone flipped out and told us that yoga is a devil's practice.
Yeah,
and
they told us it was demonic. It
was demonic and
she
everything.
even called my boyfriend a demon too. I think. Yeah.
No, he might be.
But
also, now he's downstairs, so now you got 4 demons in the house now.
Oh my god.
But it's interesting. Sometimes I wonder if people realize that you can think things, but you don't have to say them out loud.
Yeah.
It hurts other people, and there's no reason for it. You don't have to do Reiki, or you don't have to do other things.
I'm just gonna check that. Keep going.
You don't have to do any of those things, but you don't have to cut other people down that enjoy it. And and it's so easy to be respectful of everyone's different thought processes, and you would never cut anyone down for being Christian, and I think that's super important to be like that.
So the next one, there's 2 more. The next one here is partnership. In intimate settings such as with loved ones, emotional labor may show up in quieter ways than in the workplace. Here's a few ways people are asked to perform in intimate settings. One person in a relationship is expected to perform all house management work. One person is expected to handle childcare and all needs of couples, children or child. And one person is expected to initiate discussions, whether about emotional topics or life logistics.
relationships are tough. Relationships are tough in any state. We grew
Mm.
up in the era where mom did this, dad did that. There were a specific set of rules. You followed the rules. You were successful. We talked before. You had the 30-year careers. Mom made dinner, breakfast, took care of the kids. Dad came home from work, and did like 2 hours of parenting, and then went home or went to bed if they even did a couple hours of parenting. I actually thought about this last night. I was watching a movie on Netflix, and there was a dad, mom, and 2 teenage boys, and the dad and the boys had a good relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that men are becoming inherently better men and better parents as time goes on, and that creating better young men and better young women.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
And I know that people are always talking about teenagers and kids these days, and they're going off. But our children are inherently less racist. Our children are inherently nicer. I know they're like sports. People are spoiled, and you just say that. But our children are inherently better people than we were growing up.
Well, yeah.
I truly, genuinely believe that.
I think they're finally getting both parents.
Yes.
You know
again.
what I mean? Like they're finally getting the dads, like not working out of town or not working 12, 14-hour shifts. They're actually getting to eat dinner with both parents.
They're getting less of each parent, but they're getting more parenting overall.
Yes. Yeah, I can't tell you how many videos, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, of dads like writing some kind of story out and then showing their baby or them holding her or them doing dances together or something. Like I'm always seeing dads and their kids doing like dances and stuff.
You do see a lot more of that. Yesterday I was with family and I had 2, man, that'd be great nephews, right? My nephew's kids, holy shit. But I hanging out with them.
Old.
I know, right? So my dad was
nephew.
holding the boys, and we were like, one's a toddler, one's a newborn, and everybody's running around. When I was a kid, I don't think you had I don't remember being picked up by an adult man ever as a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
My dad worked out of town.
Yeah.
So we got my dad at like the end of the day on Friday, where he typically came home and immediately did yard work.
Yeah.
So like our fun was like, get out there and rake the grass. And like I remember times in my life begging my dad to play ball and like begging for his time and his attention. But you think about this poor man was put in a situation where he gets home, he has to handle the yard work, the outside work, the man's work. He's also a control freak, and no one else is allowed to touch his tractor. So that's also part of it. That's on him as well.
Yeah,
my dad was like that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there was that, and then he also tried to have to balance time with his children and date his wife. You know what I mean? Like that's a lot.
Date your wife is
yeah, and he only sees her for these couple of days.
Too, yeah.
It's very complex. It's hard. It's a lot of work.
And he did the best he could.
Yeah.
I was talking to my girlfriend about a lot of this, but just by pure chance last night. I remember I said the exact words to her, I don't want to be like my father. And most of that was just a conversation around like, I'm doing some outside trainings right now and life's just more stressful. And we're talking about like, she is doing a lighter class load this year. So kind of how we had it is I would intentionally try and do a little more housework just to compensate for the fact that she was so busy. And now we're kind of switching to the roles, reversing a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's just the middle ground of like needing some amount of free time to keep my sanity. But like, yeah, my dad went out to the gardens when he got home and I watched him destroy like 3 relationships before he figured it out. And like, he's a great father now, but like, the childhood that my step siblings get, he's a lot more there than it was for my childhood, and honestly, that makes me really happy.
That's
like
he
learned.
Yes, you can be bitter, or you can see that he's chose to be better and be happy for him and your sibling.
That's awesome.
They're so hard on their own parents, or they're so hard on everybody around them, and then at the same time, they're like, "Why doesn't anybody give me like?" You always use the word grace. I can't believe I'm saying this. Why don't people give me the grace? And it's like, it didn't start figuring things out until I was like 35.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then you can't fall. I was very fortunate. My dad retired. He had post-polio syndrome in his late 30s, early 40s. He retired, so he coached our baseball team. So from my like 10 years old to now, I got 100% of my dad 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But 0 to 10, he worked. Yeah. You know, he worked. It was like family reunions, dad's out, someone's skitter bucket broke, so they have a job to do, and that has to be finished by, so he'd be out fixing that until 8 o'clock in the morning. We're supposed to be 3 hours away, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
You know, my dad was a janitor at school and
custodian.
Yes,
Yeah.
he never called him. You're right. He never called him a janitor, and he would stand right next to the cashier lady, I guess, in the lunch line, and he would give out quarters to kids that didn't have quarters for orange juice. But also, as you said, he, you know, was coached my baseball team as well when I was a kid, softball, whatever. But he wasn't able, not that he wasn't able to coach my other sports, but he was there every practice,
was there all
every
the time.
game,
Your
all
dad,
the time.
Your dad was interesting because he went from being, he worked at the gas station, mechanic, drove bus in between, you know, in the morning worked at the gas station in between, in the evening drove bus home, and then he got the position as a custodian. But everyone loved Butch, the truck driver. As soon as he became the custodian, people went up to him taking napkins up to him. He'd getting autographs from Butch, and I did one time. I was like,
Are you serious?
No, yeah, because everybody's. I was like, I'm not doing this. I was like,
Okay, get my dad's on. I didn't do that.
people did it every day. It was so funny. Yeah.
Wow.
I,
All right.
My dad works at the local high school, and he's a more attractive fellow. And I've ran in the situation where, like, you're just walking down the hall of high school, and like you hear like some girls who are in 9th grade talk about how hot your dad is. Like, this is the last thing I want to hear right now. Like, the amount of times I'll go around this town and give someone my credit card, and they're just like, Wingerter, like, I know your dad. He taught me in school. And I'm just like, you're like 10 years older than me. That is wild. But no, yeah,
cool,
he's known around here.
That's amazing. In partnership, we were talking about, you know, just even in my parents' situation of my dad working out of town, think of the emotional labor that my mom had to carry. She had to do all of the stuff for the kids. She had to do all of the housework.
Animals too.
Our animals had to balance our schedules of getting us places everywhere. And, you know, it's not like he's at fault for this because he worked out of town to provide for us. But looking back at that now and reading this, like, think about all the stuff my mom had on her plate.
Oh,
and you said figuring things out at 35 years old. You know, I was 15 when my mom was 35. She had me at 20.
Whoa.
So I was a teenager when she started finally figuring her shit out. Because you don't really do until you're in your 30s. Like, we're all, like, most of us are in our 30s now. We know that's when we started figuring out who we were. And you're growing up and you're thinking your parents have all the answers and they have unlimited funding for everything that you want. They have all the money for it. And then I remember being an adult at like 25 and just calling my mom up and being like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, what are you talking about? I was like, I was such a bitch. Like, I put you through so much. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I was like, I thought that you guys had money. You could just put anything on a credit card and it would be fine. And then when you're an adult and you have to pay your own bills, you're like, well, these credit cards aren't magic. We have to pay these back.
My like, you know, when my parents died, emotional labor was thrown to everybody around me.
Yeah, yours was very,
like,
very scattered.
My grandpa, your dad, you know, your parents, and everybody around me had some kind of form of, like, how do I talk to her? Do I help? Like, do I not help? I don't know what to do.
You were kind of like trying to cuddle a porcupine, like pick you up. Right?
Yeah.
You know, like how do we do it? How do we do this? Yeah. That's interesting. You're gonna have a bad day. I'm saying this is a lot to talk about, like, this morning. You know?
No, it is, and we're not done yet.
Mine, ours seems much simpler too, because, like, as complicated as it was, I said my dad retired. Then my mom had to go switch from being everything she ever knew was nurture, caretaker, to all of a sudden 50-50 provider. Mm-hmm. So she had to get a job and she had to do stuff like that and go out in the workforce, which is, she had all her kids. She had 5 kids before she was 30. Mm-hmm. You know, she had 5 kids from 19 to 30. 2 days before she turned 30, I was born. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, 10, 15 years later, had to get a job and go do that stuff. And now that saying that stuff out loud, that seems very, very complicated. But, man, compared to your situation, that's wild.
Let's take a step back to grandparents.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. My grandma had 12 kids.
Yes. Same here.
12 kids.
Yeah.
Could you imagine trying to, like, balance 12
That's 3
children,
full-time jobs.
Food,
basically,
all of that.
Oh, yeah, just learning about my dad's childhood really filled in a lot of the blanks. I was
does.
like, yeah, that was all very hard just for everybody, but especially my grandma. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad we didn't get into other kinds of partnerships.
Good.
So the last one is social networking. Back in 1970, whatever this was, social networking would have never been a part of this. Like
Social
when,
networking.
when the word emotional labor itself was defined as whatever I just read earlier at the beginning, like this social networking would have never been a part of this that long ago. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Anyhow, if you spend any time on social media, you may have heard the term emotional labor thrown around. On group forums, in comments, threads, or elsewhere, on both private and public profiles, one person's demands by another are often responded to with a mention of emotional labor. Here's some examples. When someone is called racist or sexist, they insist their accuser explain how what they did was racist or sexist. When a person wants more information on a topic, they ask others to explain it to them. After explanations are given, the person continues to insist on their good intentions and wants those against whom they acted to validate their intentions.
I see where. Do you understand that? I saw
No,
your
say it
eyes go
again.
back in. So
Yeah.
basically, say
Thank
you make
you.
a comment and someone says like that's a sexist comment or that's a racist comment, that you're being called a sexist or a racist. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna have to now go in and defend your comment and say all of the reasons why that's untrue. And basically,
Unless you're really trying to be sexist.
unless you are, like sometimes you can say something, and people we do. There are times that we say things that are sexist. Like there's one that I was sharing, and I was reading in this women's training. Women lead with their heart. That is implying that women have to take the emotional labor and do all of the leading, and that's not that's a sexist statement.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it. You say it with the good intentions because most women do lead with their heart space.
Yes.
I believe that, but it is saying that women have to carry the emotional burden and weight of relationships.
Yeah.
So I understand where that's coming from.
No, it's. I'm not saying anything.
But,
No, I'm just-
but I mean that is a huge win. And then when you explain, then they still dig into the next thing you say, and then dig it until the point where you're like, okay, I just give up, and then you feel defeated on the topic, and people are just thinking that you're a sexist or racist or
I try.
whatever.
I try to accept
What was
criticism
the
when it comes to
other one?
When I want more information on a topic, they ask you. Yeah, I'm going to ask you to keep explaining it.
Yeah.
Google. There's Google.
Yes, there's absolutely Google.
YouTube.
But Trista was, just talking about women leading with their hearts or whatever. And in the definition itself is that it says this burden was borne disproportionately by women. And I just wanted to read, there's employees section in here as well that I'll read, but it says the unspoken expectation that in a nuclear family unit, it's the woman's job to do everything from care to children to managing finances, acquire home supplies is also a form of emotional labor. This is the clearest version of what was formerly called emotional work, conforming to the expectations of one's role in society for the sake of pleasing others. Assuming that if there's a conflict, the woman will initiate the discussion around it as an expectation of emotional labor on the woman's part. So if there's an argument between my mom and dad, my mom would be like, Butch, when you sit down, we need to talk about this.
We need to fix it.
You know?
Also, think of it too as extended family. I know you said your family has big gatherings for the holidays. Who is typically the one that organizes it all?
There's usually one person, regardless, and it's usually
your mom, back then.
Yeah,
a female, right?
A female, yeah, and
It's my aunt.
And that's I think that when we have my family's huge, one of 12, and my mom's one of 12 children. So then you think those kids have kids. Now their kids are having kids. Huge. We can't fit in one house like we used to at my grandma's. And so if we would have Thanksgivings, we'd rent the Rod and Gun Club my dad's a charter member at. We would rent that for the day, and we would have our Thanksgiving there. Well, my mom got burnt out because she had to be the one to organize it all. We had to cook all the food for it. Like 3 people would help women for the whole thing, but everyone else would come and eat and show up, but no one would do the labor that came with it.
Yeah.
With the emotional labor of getting everyone together and the family, getting the extended family together so we can get together, comes this physical labor of cooking and setting it all up and doing the tables,
By the time,
buying grocery shopping, all of
yeah,
that.
by the time
That's-
to enjoy it and be with your family, you're like, after this, like, I just want to go to bed, take a nap.
And they
You know?
don't, like, because you're
No.
serving, you're getting food back out, you're filling up all of the bowls with fresh food again, so everyone can keep eating. They do all of the emotional labor, the physical labor, and they don't really get to reap any of the benefits because they're hosting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I listened to all that though. I can say I'm pretty proud of my family because that used to be my mom. It used to be my mom. It used to only be my mom. And now you look at different holidays and different people take charge, different types of holidays. Joe and Jason both grill the entire time. My dad takes care of shit. My sisters, the entire family splits this stuff up. Everybody, people have things at their house instead of the other house. But you're absolutely right. And we're organizing a cruise for our friend's turning 40 this year, like all of us are. But my one friend's wife, she makes sure at least like once a year we're all together.
Yeah.
And she's the one that organizes everything. That's pretty funny what you're saying.
And does
It's
it
great.
all.
Yeah.
And I think that people don't realize that this emotional labor ends up being physical labor because you're hosting and you're doing everything. And if someone else doesn't help that friend out, maybe next year she'd be like, "Damn it, I'm tired of doing all the work to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's someone else's turn."
You know, when my grandpa passed away, it was like everybody, like the people that made the food or whatever were still alive, but the place we have the party is not alive anymore. So now what?
I'm worried about that too. Like, what if eventually at some day, when your parents pass and stuff like that, that's where we do everything.
I don't even think I mean, if there was a gathering, I wasn't invited, which is completely fine. But I don't even think like the year Pap died, and then last year, I don't think there was any like big, holiday gatherings on that side. They had their own little family stuff.
I mean, coronavirus and just where we're at in the world right now, like, it feels like a thing of the past. Like, it's been so long since I've gone together with, like, my extended family. And honestly, here's the messed up part. On a level with what we were talking about before, like, we used to do Cook's Forest every single year with my family. 12 aunts and uncles, lots of cousins, and like, it's mostly on my one aunt to do that, the one I was talking about before, and now we don't do it anymore. It's sad, but there's also this part of me where it's like, I'm glad she gets part of her life back.
Yes.
That was so much on her.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Absolutely. And that happened with my mom. She got tired of being the one to do all the cooking and expenses. She was buying everything.
Yes.
And so like I would buy the turkeys or whatever for Thanksgiving, and then like her and my aunts would go through and get the rest of it. So all of that financial burden came on us. I work multiple jobs, so I would come up and help cook when I got there, but they had already been up there since 4 a.m. doing all the work. And it was great to see everybody together, but they do burn out. And we had like 2 of those Thanksgivings after grandparents had passed. And then on the other side of the family, when both my grandparents passed, half the family doesn't even speak to each other anymore. It's just completely separated. And not that we were really super close on that side either, but we had traditions that it's sad that they're not there anymore. And that's my biggest struggle with grief is change and losing those traditions. So if you have good family bonds, though, like I don't feel like your family will lose that because you're super close with your siblings and you guys do a lot of stuff together and you kind of keep each other rooted.
But that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about the family gathering and like us hanging out with the infants and the 2-year-olds and the guys building bonds with these little people while they're young, so they're not afraid to talk to you as you get older. Because when I was little, adults were huge. They were so big, so far away, and I'm like, holy shit! They were giant. You're like walking around in a land of giants. Yeah, you kind of became standoffish and scared a little bit.
I still feel that way. I was so scared driving over here. It's like these are all actual adults.
Don't worry about this. Glad to have you. You have a voice for this stuff too.
Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, any final thoughts, really?
Yeah, I want to say one more thing. I think that this is important to note, and we talked about relationships where like codependency. Yeah. I think being in a relationship where it's codependent, where you have to carry the weight of your partner's emotions and expectations, that's a heavy burden to carry. Yeah. And it's a lot. or relationships where people are emotionally unstable. That's emotional labor.
Yes.
Like, you are responsible for regulating their emotions. That's exhausting.
Mm-hmm. It is. And then, like, when they're not in a better mood or they don't feel better, they're like, well, you didn't help me.
Yes. And it's like, it's not my job to help you. It's my job to love you and like support you as a human, but I can't make you better. It's not my job to fix you. And that took me a long time to realize you can't fix people.
That's the same kind of thing too in the relationships with our people. Yeah. They think, all right, I'm fixed. Like, I did have a couple of clients, like, that just kept doing the same thing and same thing and same thing. And I'm like, I can't give you your life fixed on a silver platter. I can give you everything you need to fix it, but you have to
apply the work.
One of our, I don't even necessarily know what to call her. Somebody above us in administration recently got our role, asked me just like, what do you wish you had been told coming into this? And it's that even the people with the best possible intentions can take advantage of you.
Yeah.
It's not something that most people intend to do, but it's just the foot in the door thing. They ask for a little more and a little more, and then you ask, like, how did I get here?
Yes.
I don't do this for other people.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, yeah.
Having good intentions and a good heart, it's really hard to say no.
Yeah.
And like, you don't even realize you're being manipulated until you're like, why in the hell am I involved in this situation right now? Or how did I get in so deep? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, whenever, like, you went back to that story about, whenever I left rehab and your dad was here and I went to hug him, he told me to sit down, whatever. And then, whenever I said, I was going to my parents' grave or whatever, you guys stopped me right there and you're like, you're done manipulating me. So knowing that, I did that to them. Like, well, I'll do this and this. I'm like, nope.
Well,
you're not going to do that.
I think none of us lie or manipulate or anything like that on purpose. I don't think like your situation.
No, in her situation, no. There are people that absolutely do.
No,
she was not.
There absolutely were. But
happens.
over time, you learned how to do it on purpose. Is what I'm getting at.
Well,
like, you accidentally when you're in a relationship with somebody who you have to be the emotional supporter or whatever. A lot of times that's not on purpose. It's accidental and whatnot. And whenever we were able to do that with you, I was able to look back on times where I figured out I was doing that to someone else.
Yeah.
I recognized it in you. I saw myself, and I was talking to myself. I wasn't even talking.
I was like, you were yelling at me.
No, I was yelling at you. I know,
Yeah.
but you did for the longest time. You tried to use like the death of your parents to control everything around you. Like, well, you can't touch me because I'm kind of like this.
My mom died.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. It's like you had to stop, and it's good to see you learn from that and kind of like self-admitted it.
Yeah.
And that now you're using it.
And I'm using it. Yeah. Like it's pretty cool.
Tough love sometimes it has to happen.
But,
it doesn't feel good being the person delivering it.
Yeah.
But like when he came to us and he told us what happened, he's like, she tried to pull the dead parent card, and I told her no, I'm not doing it.
But you want to talk about shared emotional labor? I knew whenever I picked you up from rehab that day that I had to have a conversation with you, and I wasn't sure how to do it. So I called my dad, and I asked him, and I was like, basically what I said was, Dad, will you come out here and share this emotional labor with me? That's not what I was thinking about
words
saying.
You said,
but listening to it now, and he came out, and I can tell, I know why my mom and dad are good parents, because my dad makes a good partner.
Yeah.
And in saying that, my mom makes a good partner too, because I was able to talk to each of them when we, quote unquote, wanted to save you. I put every single person in that I could think of on each side of the family in a group chat. I did one with my family, I did one with mine and your family, and I did one with a mixed blend of people too, plus us.
Yeah.
with you, and it was because I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm like, I'm going to take every resource I have and put them all in one place. That way I can go back to it. That way we're all on the same page. Like, helping you out wasn't something like I did. It was something that we did. And the reason you're successful is because everyone shared that labor,
but you took the most
you took the initiative.
I gave you a ride. Like, what was I supposed to do?
It's
like when you hit a dead dog on the side of or hit a dog or dog was hit by a car on the side of the road. Am I just gonna leave it there? I came down there. You were all beat up and laying. What was I supposed to do?
But I mean, the tough love that she had to experience through this whole thing has made her grow, and it's because you were blunt about it. You're like, hey, this is bullshit. We're not doing this.
Yeah, I didn't really know how to do it, so I was like, I'm just gonna Occam's razor straight,
straight
Yeah.
ahead. Yeah.
And it was really awkward, like talking about like he's like, how should I handle this situation? And I've dealt with an addict in my life for 20 years now, and it's never easy, and the conversations never get easier. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And you have to use tough love, or it never changes. The manipulation just continues
round and round.
in this circle.
I have 16 months clean today.
Yeah,
Congratulations!
Yeah. I was like, it is
16
the
months today.
26th.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We are at like exactly an hour, so that's cool. But yeah, great. Thanks for coming.
Of
Really
It was
course,
good.
This
appreciate
was
it.
a
Yeah.
great
Yeah, it was
time.
really
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Awesome
Another time.
experience.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys. See ya.
Is that it?
Well, yeah, I said any last thoughts, and y'all just didn't
Give us
fucking
a
nothing.
chance.
Yes, I did. Then we started talking
No, I
about
got
what
nothing.
Trista
Anybody
said.
else?
How about we do some suggestions?
Some suggestions for next week?
Yeah.
Or the following week?
Oh,
We might-
yeah.
I don't know if I want to do one next week. Do you guys want to do one next week?
You can take a break.
It
yeah,
takes.
it's-
I like kind of do because it takes a lot for me. By Wednesday, like I said, and then by
Yeah, so
Sunday, I'm not sure I'm ready.
Let's
yet.
take the whole week to do it. Like you just put one out. You don't have to put this one out.
Wednesday. Maybe I'll
Wednesday.
start or
Yeah.
Tuesday. Maybe I'll do them
Just do
later.
it for next week.
Or
Most podcasts I listen to are every other week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, yeah.
Need
Some
some
are 2 or
time.
3 days a
Yeah.
week. I don't know if I have enough things to say, and then I sit here and just start talking. It's okay.
Let's
Mhm.
take a week off.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. We'll have
Yeah.
a week
Okay.
off and go date your
But,
spouse for a weekend.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, but definitely
Emotional labor.
suggestions though.
Yeah. Emotional
you say?
labor. Emotional labor. We're gonna ask you to take some of our labor and tell us what to do.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please. That's all we need.
All right. That's
Love
it.
you. Bye.
All right. Love you guys.
See
Go
ya.
outside.
Go outside. Says it all the time.
Exercise.
Yeah.
Yes.